This week on the show.
The remnants of France's Nazi occupation.
In some ways, this place is immaculate. It feels in some areas as though the Germans have just stood up and walked out of here.
And a bird's eye view of California.
It's called the jug when you do this. That one wasn't so good.
It's incredible up here.
The Normandy coast in northwest France. Next month marks 75 years since it saw the biggest seaborne invasion in history. 156,000 American, British and Canadian troops landed along 5 of these beaches on D-Day.
This was the bloodiest flashpoint of D-Day, Omaha Beach, where 43,000 American troops stormed the beaches straight into the teeth of the German guns, in really well-defended positions here as well. It took 10 hours of brutal fighting before the beach was secured. And looking around today, it's a really peaceful scene. It's incredible to imagine the horror of that day.
There are museums here, but on the actual sands, there's no evidence left, except for these. Slowly being reclaimed by Mother Nature now, these bunkers formed part of the Atlantic Wall, a series of German fortifications which stretched from Scandinavia along the Dutch and Belgian coasts and all the way around France. Designed to repel an Allied sea attack, many of the bunkers are still in place. Like this one, hidden behind the beach huts and under the dunes on Sword Beach, meters from where the British forces landed.
Ce sont des bâtiments qui sont faits pour résister à une attaque d'obus. Bien souvent, les blocos n'ont pas si vous voulez, sont construits sur le sol meuble, ce qui fait que ça va juste glisser sur le sable et ça ne va pas exploser. On va avoir des coulées de béton ininterrompues pour éviter des failles. Et ce qui fait que c'est des bâtiments qui sont très solides et qui sont encore là aujourd'hui.
Has sentiment about structures like this changed since the end of the war to today? Would people after the war have been so keen to commemorate, do you think?
Les gens n'avaient pas la notion de patrimoine parce qu'ils n'avaient pas cette distance que nous, on a aujourd'hui. Et pour eux, ce n'était pas forcément un bon souvenir. Voilà, c'est ce moment où ils n'avaient plus de liberté, plus de droits. Donc voilà, au départ, voilà, il n'y a pas d'envie de conserver ça, mais plus de retrouver une vie normale. Et avec le temps, là, on s'est rendu compte que voilà, l'histoire, elle est importante justement pour ne pas reproduire les mêmes erreurs, qu'il faut passer la mémoire et qu'il faut préserver finalement ces sites-là.
But for the most visible bunker in the area, you have to go inland slightly, into the town of Ouistreham. Inside, its 5 floors have been restored and put to use as a museum, showing what life would have been like inside this thick concrete shell.
Merci beaucoup.
Je vous en prie.
So the story goes that this place wasn't liberated on D-Day. It was 3 days later. The British forces came up thinking this was an ammunitions bunker, a storehouse. And when they blew the doors open, there was a voice calling down from upstairs saying, "Tommy, come up, we're waiting for you." And upstairs, lo and behold, were 50 German soldiers who'd been hiding out. And they said, well, no, you come downstairs, actually.
There's no lift to the roof. You climb in the same way that the soldiers stationed here would have done.
How anybody did this under fire. Absolutely. From up here you can see Sword Beach where the British arrived. Further along you've got Juneau, the point out there where the Canadian forces landed. Further along you've got Gold, Omaha, Utah. It's quite an extraordinary sight. In some ways this place is immaculate. It feels in some areas as though the Germans have just stood up and walked out of here. But it's not the only bunker in the region that's been restored.
These ones, not far from Dunkirk, have become an art project. Some have been covered with slogans, and another's been decorated with hundreds of shards of mirrored glass. So when the sun shines, it becomes a beacon. And here, in Lorient, just across the peninsula from the landing beaches, there's this, the Karaman submarine base. It was the biggest structure in the Atlantic Wall. In fact, it's the biggest Germanic construction outside Germany. There's enough space for 30 submarines inside. This place was designed to withstand Allied bombardment, and looking around, it was pretty successful, but the result is, years later, it's almost impossible to destroy. So, after a long time spent scratching their heads and wondering quite what to do with this behemoth on their doorstep, the city of Lorient decided to put it to rather a different use. Some of the site is already used by sailing clubs, and people come here for guided tours at weekends. But this spring, a company called Hydrophone moved into one of the submarine bays here. They turned it into a studio space and a concert hall, though it's virtually impossible to remove the history.
That's impressive.
Steel door.
There's a door.
There's a door, yeah. Big door. 15 meters.
There's something like this. This is not an optional design feature, is it? This isn't moving.
Yeah, and moving. But it's very nice for this place. The people, when the people arrive here, they said, "Wow!" Every people.
Wow, that is a big door.
C'est a big door, yeah. Pour les Lorientais, c'est un lieu très important historiquement, et puis c'est aussi un lieu qui, depuis une quinzaine d'années, est en pleine restructuration. C'est un lieu qui est consacré à la voile de compétition. Tous les marins, tous les grands marins qui font les courses au large sont ici, sur les lieux de la base. Et donc l'idée, c'était aussi d'apporter un petit peu un contre-pied culturel à tout ce domaine sportif, à mélanger les choses. Donc voilà, on essaye de s'inclure dans cet environnement où il y a beaucoup de monde. Les gens s'approprient le lieu, les Lorientais. Tous les week-ends, il y a beaucoup de monde, donc on s'insère dans ce lieu pour apporter un petit peu un autre regard sur Lorient.
This place has quite a dark past. Has there been any controversy or sensitivity around using this space for a modern purpose?
Les gens sont plutôt heureux qu'on se rapproprie le lieu comme ça, qu'il devienne ainsi. Alors il y a quelques années à Lorient, les gens voulaient qu'on rase le bâtiment. Ils voulaient oublier leur passé, effectivement. Il y a eu des grosses obliques pour, effectivement, est-ce qu'on garde la base ou est-ce qu'on la fait disparaître pour oublier complètement. Et en fait, oui, effectivement, au cours des années, les gens se sont appropriés les choses et là, ils sont plutôt heureux de l'utilisation qu'on en fait, effectivement.
In the past, these fortifications held too many traumatic memories for them to be put to use in this way. But there's a new generation in charge now who have a different relationship with the wall.
Oh wow, look at this. And this is the concert hall.
Yeah.
I think it's lovely that this space that was built for not so good a purpose is actually now being used as a lovely cultural centre for people to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, it's a motivation for us. The difference between the past and the future here, it's a motivation for us every day.
It's like a new life.
A new life, exactly. Yeah.
And if you're thinking of heading to northern France this summer, here are some travel show tips that might just come in handy.
France hosts the Women's Football World Cup in June, and 5 of the 9 host cities are in the north. Reims, in the heart of Champagne country, is arguably the most eye-catching of those venues. There can't be many better ways to prepare for the opening group games than a tour of the vineyards and a good look around the city's incredible Gothic cathedral. The region's not bad for surfers either. The stretch of coast between Quimper and Quiberon is a highlight if you're looking for waves and want to avoid the crowds. La Torche, meanwhile, in southwest Finistère, also has great ocean rollers, but if you're going there in peak times, it's worth getting up early to get the best all to yourself. This year, Lille hosts Lille 3000, a series of events, performances and exhibitions that take over the city once every 3 years. This time, the theme is El Dorado, the mythical city of gold. Look out for the 3 big weekends that mark the cornerstone of the celebrations. The first takes place next weekend, so you might have to move fast if you want to be a part of it. And if you've been hooked to the new Game of Thrones season, then the new exhibit at Bayeux might just be the thing. The Game of Thrones tapestry arrives in town in September. It's 80 metres long, it's been embroidered by a team at the Ulster Museum in Northern Ireland, and it depicts scenes from every episode of the fantasy TV epic to date. If you're not a fan, then the world-famous 11th century original work is pretty good too.
Still to come on the travel show.
Mike's in California, seeing the impact of climate change in some of the world's tallest trees.
Temperatures are increasing, it's drying things out as temperatures get warmer. And that's a big consideration for these particular trees because they need so much water.
So don't go away.
This week, I've been exploring northern France. This is the Brittany coast, not far from Lorient.
Countryside around here is absolutely glorious and green, especially on a beautiful day like today. But if I can find it, there's somewhere I want to show you.
Many visitors to France will have tried crepes, the original French street food. But did you know they actually hail from Brittany?
This looks like it.
Merlu.
So which is the best crepe to order, do you think?
J'ai créé la galette Anne-Lorient à base de merlu avec une fondue de poireaux et des champignons frais et une petite crème fraîche. Donc ce sont des produits de la région. Voilà, le merlu et de l'Orient avec des œufs des gîtes de Quéroc.
So the crepe she's making me is actually a kind called a galette. And while you might be more used to having yours with chocolate spread or ice cream, these bona fide local ones are usually savoury. And each province makes its own specialty.
Il y a beaucoup de il y en a qui mettent des œufs, il y en a qui mettent pas de lait. Donc dans le Finistère, ils mettent du lait. Et ici, ils mettent pas de lait, ils mettent que de la farine de sarrasin avec du gros sel et de l'eau. Donc moi j'ai des recettes du pays Bigoudin et d'ici de l'Orient, du Morbihan.
Okay, so basically a galette is a savoury version of a crepe, and a galette is definitely what you want to go for if you come to this part of Brittany. Looks pretty good.
We're hopping to the other side of the Atlantic now to meet some of the giants of the natural world. California's redwood trees are the tallest living things on Earth, and among the oldest too. But they're far from invulnerable. Mike Corey's been to Big Sur to find out why climate change is causing some to fear for the future of this amazing species.
Here in Western California, there are complex beings that have lived for over a millennium. Redwood trees have become an icon of this state, but some fear that our changing climate might threaten their survival. So I've come to the most southern tip of their range, where change could hit the hardest, to join a scientist who's been working here to try to find some answers.
It's absolutely amazing being out in the forest. I just love it. Listening to the birds and watching the sun move through the canopy, it's beautiful. I feel lucky to be able to be out there and just amongst the trees, full of anticipation for the day to come and being able to go up into the canopy and hopefully see something that I haven't seen before. there's a presence to them that is really impressive, that it's palpable when you're out there.
And today, we'll be climbing this.
It looks like it's okay.
Pretty good. So ready for the best jug yet?
Yep.
It's called the jug when you do this. That one wasn't so good.
Okay.
That's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be.
Just wait till you get to 70 meters. So these are coast redwoods. They are the tallest tree species in the world, reaching currently about 380 feet tall as the tallest ones. They are incredibly tough and resilient. They're really important ecologically. They support the habitat and provide habitat for a lot of plants and animals. And they're also just incredibly beautiful and they're iconic. So I've been here trying to get a better understanding of how they're responding to climate change and how they might respond to future climate change.
And how are they responding to climate change?
So as the climate changes, temperatures are increasing, it's drying things out as temperatures get warmer. And that's a big consideration for these particular trees because they need so much water that's affecting their water balance and their ability to transport more water to the tops of the trees.
But now, it's time to get to work.
There we go.
So first, we need a sample of the tree's core.
This is the halfway mark there. And then when we get to the ground, we'll be able to pull that spoon out with the core on it.
And so all the hidden secrets beneath this bark will be ours.
Yes.
The knowledge will be ours.
Earlier on, Anthony showed me some of those secrets this tree had already revealed.
And so, wow, these are the rings here?
Yeah. So each one of those is an annual ring, 1 year's worth of growth you can see here.
So it really only grows a couple millimeters a
Yeah,
year.
yeah, and sometimes even less than a millimeter a year, depending on how the conditions are.
So we're back hundreds of years right now.
Yeah, this could be, once we polish this up and sand it and get a better view of the rings, this is, there could be 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 maybe years here.
Wow, so this section up here hasn't seen sunlight for 600, 700 years.
Yeah, it's an amazing archive.
All right, so I have one end of the tape measure.
Yep.
We're doing the circumference measurement.
Yep. So wrap it all the way around there, underneath those tubing there. Okay. So we are at 7.84 meters circumference.
That's a big tree.
It is a big tree.
7.84 meters around, and we are 5 meters off the ground. So the next plan is to go up to near the top and take a couple more samples. All right.
Let me put that in my notes.
Upwards we go. To the top.
This redwood stands at over 70 meters tall. Climbing redwoods is forbidden in most places, but in this reserve, we have special permission, and what a privilege it is.
Okay, 40 meters. I can't get over how beautiful this tree is. We have gotten up to the canopy, so there is burn marks on this tree at 40 meters, which boggles my mind. It's incredible up here.
And as we inch upwards, jug by jug, I'm faced with more scorched bark. Anthony told me that wildfires are another threat these trees are increasingly facing in the modern world.
Bird's nest.
I don't think there's anybody home though.
There's nothing else like this on the planet. And I'm getting an appreciation for that right now. Also getting quite sweaty. It's not easy work.
With Anthony already at the top collecting samples, I make my final push upwards.
This view is definitely one of the wildest, most incredible views I've seen in my entire life. I can't believe we're 71 meters off the ground right now. Condors get this view. Condors and us. It's incredible. This is 700 years old, which is before the colonization of America, before Taj Mahal, before Machu Picchu. It makes me feel like a speck of sand in a sandbox, like insignificant.
Yeah, it's a pretty humbling experience, isn't it? If the climate change conditions dry things out sufficiently, then they might start to feel some impacts. They might not grow as well, they might not get as tall, they might in the future even start to die back, and that's what we're trying to figure out.
Do I feel the tree shaking a little bit?
Yep, it's waving.
Okay, just a normal thing, I'm assuming.
Right, well that's it for this week, and coming up next time, Lucy's in New York for a special look at a brand new museum dedicated to one of the world's most recognisable names.
Liberty Island receives nearly 4.5 million visitors each year. On a busy day, as many as 25,000 people come over. And right now, we've got it all to ourselves. This is incredible.
And we go off-grid in Norway to meet the man with an island all to himself.
When we came around the point here and we turned off the engine and said, well, this is it. This is the place. Our dreams became reality.
Well, that looks great. And meanwhile, you can catch up with us on social media. Just search BBC Travel Show on any of the major platforms, and feel free to tag us in your travel posts too. For now though, from me, Crystal Loward, and the rest of the Travel Show team here in northern France, it's au revoir.